Hi, welcome to the video. So I'm going to crank through a bunch of different stuff. I'm going to go fast, but I'm going to try and give you the gist of the idea. If you are getting confused by anything, either rewatch it, or most of these topics I have individual videos already out on. I've got close to 100 videos out at the time of me recording this. So I'm going to cover intervals, keys, scales, modes, circle of fifths, notes on the neck, a bunch of different areas. So let's go and jump into this. Now, if you do like this video, please click like or subscribe. That will tell me that you guys like it, and I will make a part 2 on it. So let's go and jump in. So I'm going to cover notes on the neck first. Some of you might already know how to figure these out, but this is really important for kind of understanding the rest of the stuff. You don't have to have it mastered, but at least I want you to be able to figure out what the notes on the neck are. This will help you with refingering scales, chords, arpeggios, understanding harmony, a lot of different things. So basically, I'm going to teach you the white keys on the piano first, which are your natural notes. The black keys on piano would be sharps and flats. So I'm referencing piano because it's very easy to visually see the difference between a natural note on the white and black being sharps and flats. On guitar, it's not so easy, but they're still lined up the same on a single string. So if I have A, then going to B would be 2 frets up. The reason it's 2 frets up is because I'm skipping over the black key, which would be your A sharp or B flat. I'll come back to that later to explain why it's a sharp or flat. But a sharp is always 1 higher. So A sharp would be 1 higher, A flat would always be 1 lower. So flat lowers it a half separate 1 fret, and sharp raises it a half separate 1 fret. So let's go through this. So the only spots where it's not sharp and flat in between, and this is the key to be able to do this easily, is when you get to B to C, there's no sharp or flat between, and E to F. So basically every new note is 2 frets higher, except when you come to B to C and E to F, which would be 1 fret. So if I start on the A string, A, think of it just like a fret, then 2 frets up would be 2nd fret. So B to C is one of the spots where it's only 1. D, and the notes, natural notes are just A, B, C, D, F, G, and then you start over at A. So it's just the first 7 notes of the alphabet. So I'm on D, E, then E to F is 1, G, A. 12th fret will always be your octave, which means since there's only 7 different notes that I'm playing right now, oct means 8, so you're back to where you started. So you should always be, if you started on A, ending on A at the 12th. Then everything else just repeats past that, just like you just did. So if I run through our strings quick, D string, D to E would be 2, but E to F would be 1, G, A, B, B to C is 1, D, G, A, B, B to C is 1, D, E, F, E to F is 1, G, B, C, that's just 1, D, E, F, 1, G, A, B. And last one, E, F, 1, E to F, G, A, B, C, B to C is 1, D, E. So that allows you to figure out any notes in the neck. Just remember, if you know what note to start on, go alphabetical, and then 1 fret B to C to E to F. So let's jump into major scales now. Major scales are what a lot of theory is based upon. I mean, your intervals, your chord scale, and arpeggio formulas all come from your major scale, or reference to it anyways. So basic finger for major scale, I'm going to do in C, which would be all natural notes. Anyways, let's go and get this. I'll get into keys in a second. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So that's your basically do, re, mi type scale. Now, would I have to finger it this way? This one's a simple one, 8, 10, 12, 8, 10, 12, 9, 10. So it's an easy way to do it, but maybe the stretching is too much for you. So here's another thing you can remember. If I want the same note, but on the string under it instead, all I have to do is to get this E on the 5th string instead of 6th is subtract 5 frets. So 12 subtract 5, I've got E at the 7th fret. Anytime you're going to a string under, if you subtract 5, you get the same note. So 7 subtract 5, the 2nd fret is E. Now, if I reverse it and go a string above, it's just add 5. So E, 2 to 7, 2 plus 5 is 7, 7 plus 5 is 12. The only time this doesn't work is going from the 3rd to 2nd string, because B string throws everything up. So if you think about, you got 5 frets, B string throws up 1, you instead have 4 frets. So E at the 9th fret, I subtract 4 if I'm going to the B string or the 2nd string, and have it at 5th. Or if I'm going to one above it, 5 from the 2nd, and add 4 frets, and then it's at 9. So 5th fret to 9th fret. But any other string set 1st to 2nd, 6th to 5th, 5th to 4th, 4th to 3rd, it's just add 5. If you're going a string above, subtract 5. So now with that in mind, I can do this C major scale and put the E back this way. Then I could put this note back also, so C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So I can finger it that way too. Now, if I wanted to take that 2nd note and put that back, I could do that too and go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So this is how you can end up with so many different ways to finger a chord, scale, or arpeggio, because you can always choose, do I go forward for the note or do I go backwards for the note? And in any combination, so you could put 1 note on that 1st string, I could put 2 notes, I could put 3 notes, I could even go 4 notes. So, okay, now if I want to talk about different keys, how many different keys are there? Well, there's only 12 notes we talked about, 7 natural and 5 sharps and flats. So there's 12 notes on guitar. So there's therefore 12 keys. Now, what is a key? Well, the key of C, or the scale of C major, have the same notes in them. Okay, so if I know this is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, that's the same notes as the key of C major. The difference between a key and the scale you can finger in many different ways and places across the neck, but the key tells you everything that can be created from those 7 notes. So I could be doing an A minor 7 chord, a C major 7 chord, I could be doing D minor 13 arpeggio, I could be doing a G major, G Mixolydian, which is a type of major, Mixolydian modal scale. So all of those are created from those same 7 notes, so they all fit inside the key of C, even if they aren't necessarily, in the scale of C. Okay, so scales, chords, arpeggios, anything that can be created from those 7 notes, they're in the key, fits that. Now you can look at like a circle fits. This will show you on the outside there all 12 keys. Some of them might have more than one name. You could call this a F sharp or a G flat, but it's the same fingering, it's the same notes. Either way, you just name it as something different. So there really is only 12 possibilities. Now, why? So basically, the way to find the different keys, the easy way at first is just take a major scale and move it to that other note. If you want the key of 3 sharps, for example, that's A major. So if I start my C major scale on A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, I automatically have the correct 3 sharps in it. Now, to sidetrack for a second, why is this called a C sharp and not a D flat? Okay, because it's actually going to be simpler if you call it that. And by itself, you don't know which it is. If I just play this note, it could be either one. It's equally D flat and C sharp. It's the context of what you're playing around it that determines the name. So if I'm playing this A, B, C sharp, D, that would make more sense because I'm using each letter of the alphabet. If I call this a B, D flat, D, then I'm using 2 different Ds, a D and a D flat, and no C notes. So that's going to be more confusing. So basically you just want to not repeat alphabet letters or leave out alphabet letters, and that's what will determine it. Now, if I have a different scale, like a B flat minor, B flat, C, D flat, that same note would be called D flat, because now if I called that C sharp, it would be B flat, C, C sharp, E flat. I'd be doing, like I said I don't want to do, I'd have 2 C's and no D. So look at the context, try not to leave off notes or repeat notes, and that will tell you whether it's sharp or flat. Okay, now let's go ahead and jump into, as you know, even though the shape is the same, if I'm playing this major scale, the notes will be different wherever I play it. If I play here F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, if I play here A, B, C sharp, it's going to be all different letters, B flat, C, D, which can be confusing. This is where intervals come in. So intervals are basically a way to count through the scale with numbers instead of letters. This allows you to create formulas for chords, scales, and arpeggios without having it change when you change keys. So if instead of counting C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then I move it to the key of A, it's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I'm counting a number system, it never changes. My 2 will always be that distance. My 3 will always be that distance. So wherever I go, that's what would be considered my third or major third. As I continue to count through, 1, 2, so second, third, fourth, so fifth. You've probably noticed that one, that's just a power chord. That's why this power chord would be called C5, because this is C note, my root, gives it the name. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is 5 notes up from it, or a fifth. So it's a C fifth, or C power chord. And wherever you move that, this is still going to be a fifth. So this shape, once you memorize that shape, is always a fifth. Of course, if you played it on other strings, that doesn't matter until you hit the B string, and then again, it has to be pushed up one. So now that's my fifth up there. But if you count through the notes, it'll still be the fifth note up. Okay. So if I continue to count up, so we're on fifth, there'd be my sixth, my seventh, and my octave, where again, octave is back to the beginning, it's the same note as this, so C and back to C again. Now, you might see sometimes something saying a flat third or a flat seventh or something like that. Where does that come from? Similar to what we were talking about sharps and flats. Now, if I play a C minor scale instead of a C major scale, now it's going to be 1, 2, and what would this be called? Well, it's my third note, but it's not this third. It's one back from it, so it'd be a flat third. Or sometimes, because it's from the minor scale, the minor third. So 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5. Now this was my 6, but in the minor scale I play this, so this would be a sharp 5 in this case, because I've already got my 5. It'd be a flat 6. So 4, 5, flat 6. This next note would be a 7th, but it's not my major 7th, so it's my flat 7. So 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, octave, versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, octave for the major. So the major and minor. So anytime you see those flatted numbers, it's referencing back to the major. The major is your bass, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Anything sharp to flat from that is just raising it or lowering 1 fret. Now if you go beyond 8, that's just continuing up the octave. So 9 would be back to my D note, which is the same as the second. Just like the 7 and 8 are the same note, the 2 and 9 are the same note. And that's where you get those bigger numbers, sometimes attached to chords like 9s, 11s, 13s. Okay, so now if I take these chord formulas, if I don't think of it as notes but think of the formula, then I can apply that anywhere on the neck and get that in a different key. So for example, if I take that and go back to A and go 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, or just if you memorize the fingering, even if you don't think about the intervals, you've got the correct thing. Now I'm starting on A, so it'd be A minor. Now if I say the notes on this, watch what happens. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. It's actually the same 7 notes as the C major scale. In fact, if you remember us doing this fingering of C, D, E, F, G, A, B, you'll see that it overlaps. This is what's called the relative minor. It's also called natural minor, or the modal name would be Aeolian. So let's go and get into modes and what this is. Basically, the modes, in this case A minor, are the same 7 notes as a C major. I'm just starting on a different note than C. So the shape will look different, A, B, C, but the notes are the same, just starting a different one. So how many different modes would there be? Well, there's 7 different notes in the scale or key, so there's 7 different modes, one starting off each one. So if I start on the C, that's my basic, again, do, re, mi type scale. It can also be called Ionian. If I go up 1 to a D, or I could just stay in the same fingering, but kind of the point of learning these modes at first is to learn different fingerings so you can cover the whole neck in my C major key So now if I go start on D, that's my Dorian shape, which is a minor scale. Or I could reach forward. If I go E, that's my Phrygian scale. It's also a minor scale. If I go F, this is a major scale. If you notice, all the majors will have that major third in it. That's what makes it major. And all the minors will have that shorter or flatted third, minor third, and that's what determines it being minor. So now if we go Mixolydian, what kind of scale would that be, major or minor? Well, it's a major because it's got that major third. So the Mixolydian scale, each mode is going to be a different fingering than the original one. This one's very close to a major, but it has that flat 7 in it. We already did the natural minor, so that's my A, minor scale. B has this third, so it's a Locrian in this is the name, and it's a minor scale. Now if you notice, this one mostly overlaps with the C, so you wouldn't necessarily have to practice the Locrian and the C in this position as separate fingerings. You could practice one of them and just realize that if you're starting the B, technically it's a Locrian, but the next note up is a C, so you could easily think of it as a major also then. Because usually when you're playing, improvising, you're not necessarily starting on the first note of the scale anyways. Okay, so that's kind of, so modes are basically just the scale started on different notes. Now, you can get much more deep on modes, in depth on it, talking about different chord progressions and the different sound differences between them. But one of the benefits on the basic level of a mode is just, again, memorizing the whole neck. And then if you want to change keys, you don't have to jump all over the place. If I want to do a key of A major, for example, I can play that scale. But if, let's say I want to go to the key of D major, I'd have to then jump all the way up to here. But if I know which one of those fingerings in D major, so let's see, this is A, let's count up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth note in D major is A. Well, which scale was the fifth one? That was Mixolydian. So I could take my Mixolydian shape and play in the same position as I do the A major shape. So then I can be improvising here in A major. Sorry, that was Mixolydian. In the A major, and then switch to the Mixolydian without having to move my hand. So that's kind of the benefit. If you know the different modes, you can change keys without having to jump over the neck to find, if you only know a couple fingerings. Okay, so let's get back to circle fifths for a moment, and then we'll wrap up. So now that we've talked about relative minor, if you see this inside circle, that's actually, remember we said A was the relative minor, C, that's your relative minors. So it's showing that right here. So that way, if you know that key, it's a key signature that has no sharps and no flats, that's your key of C major or A minor. Now this is called circle fifths because if you go around the circle in a clockwise fashion, it's moving in fifths. So even if you don't have the circle in front of you, if I start on a C note, that's the key of no sharps or flats. If I want to go figure out, well, what's the key that has 1 sharp? All I have to do is go up a fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or think of a power chord shape. G is a key of 1 sharp. If I then start on G and want the key of 2 sharps, go up a fifth. D is the key of 2 sharps. Up a fifth again. A is a key of 3 sharps. Now, if you want to cross a B string, then just come back here to A. A, up a fifth again. E is 4 sharps. Now, if you want the flat keys, you can see that those are ones I just went through. C, G, D, A, E. If you want the flat keys, it goes in fourths when you go counterclockwise. So the fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4, is just directly below. So if I'm on the key of C, no sharps, no flats, 1 flat would be F. If I go a fourth again, that's B flat, that's key of 2 flats. Go a fourth again, that's E flat, key of 3 flats. So you can go all the way around the circle in either fourths, if you're going counterclockwise towards the flats, or fifths clockwise. I think I'll leave it at that. Next time, if I do a part 2, I'll cover a lot of more things, more about circle fifths, probably talk about chord and progressions and the arpeggios and the chords in a key more, and a lot of different areas, inversions and such. But thanks for watching.